Welcome to my channel, guys! Hey guys, and today we'll be reading chapter 3 of the Tom Sawyer book. But before we dive into chapter 3, how are you guys doing? How was your day? Was today fun, exciting? Please tell in the comments. And please like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell.
Marker.
Chapter 3, Heartbreak for Tom. Tom thought that lunch recess would never come. The air in the classroom was utterly dead. Not a breath was stirring. It was the sleepiest of sleepy days. It took all of Tom's strength just to stay awake. His hand wandered into his pocket and he pulled out the tiny matchbox, which held the tick he had traded his tooth for. Tom released the creature and watched it crawl along the long flat disc. Joe Harper, Tom's best friend, sat next to him. Joe too was careful for the diversion of a tick. On such a dull Monday, Tom poked at the tick with a pin, and the creature changed his direction at every poke. Joe took a pin out of his label and joined in the sport. In a few minutes, Tom complained that they were interfering with each other, and neither was getting the fullest benefit of the tick. So he just put Joe's slate on the desk and drew a line down the middle. One side was to be Tom's territory and the other side Joe's. Another side Joe's. The poor tick scurried from one tormentor to the other, and the two boys bent their heads over the slate, giving all their attention to the game. It didn't take long before they began to argue, and Tom reached over into Joe's territory and poked the tick with his pin. "Tom, you let him alone." "You let him alone," shouted Joe. "Look here, Joe Harper, just whose tick is it anyway?" answered Tom. The boys were so involved in their game that they didn't notice the harsh that had come over the class. They didn't realize Mr. Dobbin had tiptoed towards them and was now standing and watching their game. Before they knew it, they felt the harsh smacks of hickory twigs on their shoulders. The punishment ended their game. When school was let out for lunch, Becky was waiting for Tom. The two walked off together to a secret place in the yard behind the school. For a while, Tom drew on his slate as Becky, obviously impressed, watched him in silence. After some time, Tom looked up and asked, "Were you ever engaged?" "Becky, I don't know," she answered. What's it like to be engaged?" "Well, you just tell a boy that you won't love anyone but him ever, and then you kiss anyone can do it. At first, Becky hesitated, but Tom explained over and over again the importance of the kiss and the pledge of undying love. When Becky agreed, Tom kissed her. Why did I have to come to this part? Then he relaxed and told her of the rest of the agreement. We will always walk to school together, and at parties you choose me and I choose you. We'll always be together when nobody's looking. That is. It's so nice. I never heard of being engaged before," whispered Becky with a sig. "Oh, it's a lot of fun. Why, me and Amy Lars." Becky's wide eyes filled with tears, and Tom realized he had made a terrible mistake. He tried to comfort Becky and explain that he had no feelings for Amy anymore, but Becky would not hear none of it. She turned her face to the wall and went on crying. Tom got up and walked around the schoolyard for a while. Then he returned to Becky's sighed and once again told her that she was his only love. But Becky kept on crying. Tom reached into his pocket for his most important treasure, a doorknob. He passed it to Becky and said, "Please, Becky, won't you take it?" Becky threw the doorknob on the ground. Tom got up and stomped out of the schoolyard. He headed for the hills outside of town and didn't return to school at all that afternoon. Becky soon regretted her actions and began looking for Tom everywhere. She called his name over and over, but there was no answer. She had no companions but silence and the loneliness. So she sat down to cry again. As the rest of the students filed back into the school, Becky looked hopefully for some sign of Tom, but it was too late. Her heart was broken and she was sure she had lost him forever. Love these days. Here's some pictures. Yeah. Becky actually looks tall though. And this is Life is Pain and Trouble. Oh God, I'm just so sorry. Tragedy in the graveyard. Wait, what? Graveyard? Ooh. Some mischief is gonna happen right here, and I know it's where it's gonna end. Chapter 4. Tom ran through the backy roads until he was far away from the treaded schoolyard. He sat for a long time by the side of the road, with his elbows on his knees and his chin in his hands. It seemed to him that life was nothing but pain and trouble. He had only meant the best for Becky Thatcher, but what had he done that was so terrible? Nothing. She had treated him like a dog. Oh, she would be sorry someday, maybe when it was too late. Tom's mind wandered to thoughts of death. Well, it didn't have to be like that, you know. I think he took it too seriously. He could almost see it all now. They would carry his poor body into... Okay, this boy is going too far. Oh my God. This is going too far. They would carry his poor body into the church and make it Aunt Polly would cry and cry. Why would you think that? His mind got to another level. Man, why would you think that? They would say all sorts of kind things about what a brave, wonderful boy he had been all along. Tom was awakened from his fantasy by his old friend Huckleberry Finn. What? Why does that God Huckleberry Finn even wake him up from this? Why would you think that? The boys were overjoyed to see each other and began to play a lively game of Robin Hood. What is Robin Hood? When Tom realized that it was close to dinner time, he said goodbye to Huck, but they made arrangements to sneak out that night and meet in the graveyard, where they planned some more adventures. At 9:30 that night, Tom and Sid went to bed as usual. Tom waited for what seemed like an eternity for Huck's signal that the coast was clear. Finally, Tom heard the meow. That meant Huck was waiting down by the woodshed. Tom opened the window, slipped out, and joined his friend. Huck was waiting with his dead cat. Dead? Wow. for they planned to swing it over a graveyard to see if this method would cure warts. Huh? Oh my god. They're boys' mind these days. The boys walked about a mile and a half out of the village until they reached an old graveyard on a hill. Grass and weeds grew over the grounds, and many of the older graves were so sunken in that the gravestones could not be seen at all. Huck, do you believe that these dead people would like us being here? Whispered Tom. I wish I knew. It's awfully solemn, isn't it? Just then, Tom thought he heard something. He grabbed Huck's arm and the two boys froze. Did you hear it? Asked Tom. There's something coming this way. No doubt about it. Wow. Some shadow figure approached through the gloom. One was swinging an old-fashioned thin lantern. Huck shuddered and whispered, "It's the devils." Sure enough. Okay, I did not even think that one. 3 of them were goners now. Tom, can you pray? Just as Tom was about to begin praying, he recognized one of the figures. They're humans, he whispered. One of them, anyway. It's old Muff Potter. I know his voice. The boys sat very still, watching the 3 figures standing over a grave. The lantern light revealed their faces. It was young Dr. Robinson, Muff Potter, and fearsome Injun Joe. Injun Joe. Oh, fantastic name. A murderer. Okay, he has a fantastic name, but not a fantastic personality of being a murderer. Potter and Injun Joe was uploading some rope and shovels from a wheelbarrow. Why? Dr. Robinson stood behind them, urging them to hurry and dig open the grave before the moon came out. After a while, their shovels struck something with a dull, woody sound. They hoisted a coffin out of the ground with their ropes, braid off the lid, and removed a body. The corpse was placed in the wheelbarrow and covered with a blanket. "Now it's done," said Injun Joe with a grunt. $5 more or here it sits." The doctor protested, "But I paid you both in advance." But Injun Joe had been carrying an old grudge against the doctor's father ever since the old man had him jailed for threatening his life. Now he raised his fist to the doctor's face. Dr. Robinson struck suddenly and knocked Injun Joe to the ground. Muff Potter jumped on the doctor and the 2 men began to fight. In an instant, Injun Joe was on his feet. Wildfire was in his eyes. He starched up Potter's knife and creeped around the fighters, sneaking his chance to use it. At the moment, the doctor freed himself from Potter's strong grasp. Injun Joe picked up a heavy tombstone and knocked out Potter with it. Then he drove his knife into the doctor's chest. Okay, I literally struggled to swallow. The doctor reeled and fell on top of Potter. His blood was everywhere. Oh. Injun Joe stood looking down at his 2 victims. The doctor ground gave a last gasp, then was still. Okay, you see, Injun Joe, as I said, is a beautiful name, but not a good personality as a murderer. Oh my god, I knew something terrible was gonna happen. Anyway, Injanju knelt down and went through the doctor's pockets for money and others valuables. Then he placed the flutter knife in Potter's open right hand. In a few minutes, Potter came to. His hand closed all up on the knife. He raised it, glanced at it, and dropped it with a shudder. Lord, how did this all happen? He cried. Injanjo then and told Muffled Potter that he had seen the whole thing. Potter, he explained, you were so drunk that you got into a fight with the doctor and wound up stabbing the poor man to death. Liar! At first, Potter refused to believe what Injanjo had told him, but Injanjo was so convincing that Potter eventually accepted the story as true and begged his partner to keep it a secret. When this was agreed upon, the two men slipped sadly away into the night. The murdered doctor, the blanket corpse, the lidless coffin, and the open grave were all that remained of the night's terror. The two boys fled back towards the village, fearful of every shadow and speechless with horror. Okay, me too. Huck, what do you think will happen? Tom whispered breathlessly. If Dr. Robinson dies, I guess there will be a hanging, answered Huck in between gasps for air. Both boys realized they had been the only witness to the crime. Muff and Potter had been out cold. Only Huck and Tom could point an accusing finger at the real killer. It was then they understood the great danger. Danger is not okay. I was right. It was danger. They were in. Injanjo was not likely to let them go on the living if he suspected that they had seen the murder and might give him away. Once the boys were safely back in the village, they stopped to talk inside an old ruined building. Hucky, do you think you can keep Mom about all this? Asked Tom. We got to keep Mom. Tom, that Injanjo would whip us out in a minute if we were to squeal. Now listen, Tom, we got to swear to keep quiet about all this. The boys agreed in the darkness of night. They wrote out an oath on a piece of bark. It read, Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer swears they will keep Mom about this and they wish they may drop down dead in their tracks and rot if they ever tell. Then they pricked their fingers and signed their initials blood. Initials in blood. Okay. They buried the bark and whispered all sorts of magical words during the ceremony. Now it was done. The oath had been sealed in blood. Tom and Hook will never tell anyone what they had witnessed an awful night. Their lips were sealed forever. Okay, let's see if that's forever. Tom sneaks unnoticed. Well, I guess Sid called him already because his eyes are open. And this is Tom sneaking out the door. Well, the window. Tom and his guilty conscience. After the boys said goodbye, Tom returned to his house and crept silently in his bedroom window. He undressed with great care and fell asleep, congratulating himself that no one knew of his adventure. He was not aware or knew of his adventure. He was not aware that the gently snoring Sid was awake and had been so for almost an hour. Well, I guess you have to take that congratulations back because Sid already knew you were awake. When Tom awoke the next morning, Sid was dressed and gone. Something was wrong. No one had bothered to wake him. Within 5 minutes, he was dressed and downstairs, feeling sore and Jorsey. After breakfast, Aunt Polly took Tom aside and wept. He had broken her old heart. Go on and ruin yourself, she cried. It's no use for me to try and raise you like a good boy. I know you sneaked out last night. Tom pleaded for forgiveness and promised to reform. He was no so miserable he didn't even think of ways of getting even with Sid for telling on him. He mucked to school, feeling sad and gloomy with hardly a sound. He slipped in his seat, his elbow pressed against something hard and cold. He held it up and unwrapped it. A long lingering sig followed. His heart broke. It was his brass doorknob. Becky had returned it. Tom hardly had time to wallow in his sorrow. By noontime, the whole village was alive with news of a Dr. Robinson murder. Everyone in town was drifting towards the graveyard. Tom's heartbreak over why am I stuttering? Over Becky flew. I guess it's because I just feel so astonished about the murders, kills, what just happened earlier. Okay, away. He joined the procession. As soon as he reached the scene of the bloody crime, he felt a slightly pinch on his arm. It was Huckleberry Finn. They looked into each other's faces and felt tense and uncomfortable because of the secret they shared. Within a few minutes, John Joe and Mother Potter appears. Without a moment's hesitation, John Joe told the sheriff. Sheriff. Oh my God. Sheriff. A graceful tale, calmly explaining that Muff Potter had stabbed the doctor during a drunken rage. First you lied, and when Potter believed you, and then he told you to keep it a secret, you just literally told it all over the village like it was literally, oh my God, wicked people. Guys, be careful. Be careful with people. Huck and Tom stood frozen in their tracks as the stony-hearted liar railed off his story. The boys were astonished. An innocent man was going to hang, and only they could save him. Tom's fearful secret and groaning inconstant and disturbed his sleep that night and every night that followed. After several nights of Tom's moan and toasting, Sid complained to Aunt Holly. She could question Tom, but all he had was it's nothing at all. But Sid, who seemed just a bit too concerned, had to say, "But you talk so much, Tom. Last night in your sleep, you kept screaming something about blood and telling somebody something." This made Aunt Polly think that Tom was only having nightmares about the murder, just like other people in town were. Although Tom nodded his head in agreement, Sid suspected that something much more dramatic was bothering Tom. Every day or two during this time, Tom went to the little jail window and smuggled small gifts to Muff Potter. Cigars and bits of fruit and food were silently passed to the prisoner. Muff thanked Tom and figured it was the boys' way of thanking him for a few times they had gone fishing together. But to Tom, these offering was only way he had of easing his guilty conscience. Wow. Wait. No. Well, guys, let me actually tell you something. Didn't realize I was also reading chapter 5. But you got a little surprise gift today. Actually, I'm happy. I'm actually falling in love with this book. But please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Also remember to purchase The Girl Who Found Her Voice Through Therapy. We'll still series 1, series 2, and also remember to purchase the Aria Science Whiz book by my mom. Have a great rest of your day, and please tell me what you have learned about the book and what would you think would happen next. Please. Bye.
Marker.